Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble podcast, where tonight we're going to have a wee in-depth look at Scotland and preview tomorrow night's game against Cyprus. As I say, it's quite a different landscape from the Scotland thing, from the Rangers things, but delighted to be involved. Connor, it's just me and yourself tonight to kick off. Delighted to have you. How we doing?
Aye, no bad. Actually looking forward to the international break a wee bit of respite for everything else that's been going on recently, obviously with Rangers and stuff, so that'll be good. Plus, so far, the qualifying campaign's actually been quite positive for Scotland, so it's one of those rare times where watching Scotland play isn't that much of a chore, so happy days.
Absolutely, and we will touch on that, certainly. Listen, we are live on YouTube, I'm led to believe, so like and subscribe and all that nonsense, because it does help the podcast grow. And always, as always, we invite your comments as well. We'll try and pull a few up if they are sensible. But yeah, listen, just before we sort of delve into the current campaign, there is a bit of a taboo with the national side in their club. I don't want to talk too much about that per se, but just give us your sort of feeling for the national side and what you've grew up watching and maybe your memories of the first tournament, etc. Because I like to hear all that.
Well, I don't mean to age you, Robert, but the first tournament I seen Scotland in was 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. I mean, I was alive in 1998. I was 3, so I don't remember that very much. So I kind of grew up throughout that turbulent era with Bertie Volts and that sort of stuff. But I do have fond memories of Walter Smith and Alex McLeish's side, who were, perilously close to getting to Euros, and might well have done if a certain referee didn't, turn it to be quite dodgy. But no, listen, I personally love the national team. I don't hold out against anybody who doesn't. That's your choice. You don't have to. But for me, I am a proud Scotsman. I like to see us do well. We can't forget either, and I know it's a taboo thing with Rangers fans, you can be split, but we're playing England on Tuesday as well, and I'm the kind of person, I don't hate England, but I love us to beat them in anything we're playing them in. I don't care what it is, just because mainly their media do my absolute nothing when it comes to their England teams, because they're always going to win every tournament and they're the best in the world, and we are just tiny wee Scotland who can be foisted aside. I mean, you've seen it when Aston Villa, but Hibs, even at a club level, that's what you get. So just purely on that basis, I get right behind us. Obviously, probably my standout memory, you can't look past Fadi's goal at the Parc de France. Okay, we never qualified, but it was a moment in time for that particular campaign that you've got to love.
Is that your favourite Scotland goal?
I think so. I think how good a goal it was, obviously. It was a fantastic strike. Arguably, the keeper should maybe save it. But that and the fact that just the hysteria around it. I mean, I don't know if you've seen clips with some of the commentary around it. Peter Martin, who I'm not a huge fan of, but his commentary and that was superb. So I think all of that just contrived to make it brilliant. And you're doing the double over France. I mean, we back then, and even especially more so now, we've no right going over to Paris and beating France. And the fact we did and still didn't qualify is very Scotland, to be fair. But aye, it's definitely my favourite Scotland goal.
Listen, I'm obviously, I say, a wee bit older than yourself. My first tournament was Euro '96. I remember, obviously, with it being in a neighbouring country, England, the hysteria was massive. I remember all the merchandise, the tiger mascot, just everything that kind of went along with it, and obviously Scotland through England as well, which was a massive thing. You think the Rangers had just signed Paul Gascoigne. He'd played his first season for Rangers and then went to Euro '96. He'd a squad full of Scottish compatriots, and I think there was a lot going on in the dressing room regarding that. So, and that tournament does bring my favourite Scotland goal. My favourite Scotland goal was Ali McCoist against the Swiss. I know we didn't get out of the group, but I just think McCoist has probably never hit a sweeter ball in all his days. It's outside the box. It's an absolute pearler in the top bins, and that will forever be my favourite Scotland goal. And also, I remember sort of dogging setting off for school and coming home to watch Scotland Brazil, and just the build up to that. I think it was like Jim Dale, 100, 500 miles, all that carry on. So, no, I'm like you. I've got Scotland on my puff, and I'll continue to. It's something I really enjoy. That the night in Serbia will live long in the memory. I know we didn't fare too well at the tournament, but just to get to the Euros was great. And I think all being well, we'll be in Germany and hopefully take heed from what we've learned at the past Euros and move that on and hopefully progress a little bit further. So okay then, let's have a look because we're in Cyprus. It's probably as hot as my bedroom right now, I'm telling you. We're top of the 4 out of 4. Something with the best start to a campaign we've ever had. Possibly, going to go 5 out of 5, we hope, fingers crossed. There's certain permutations where I think we could qualify if results go for us Tuesday night when we play England. We won't dwell too much on that because I think we have done some good work. So let's touch on the games that have passed before we talk about tomorrow's game, Connor. Some standout results, but we'll start with the home game against Cyprus.
Yeah, listen, the home game against Cyprus was kind of what, I think you expect that kind of game. You're playing a team like Cyprus, you go, well, you should win that game reasonably comfortably. Cyprus made it a bit difficult, I think, for a bit, but I just think we looked very comfortable for 90% of that game. There wasn't really much that gives you a scare, which is rare. But I think it's a mark as well of where the team have came for games like that, because you don't go into games like that with as much trepidation as you used to, because we all know that the one thing that, for years blighted Scotland was that they would turn up when the big games came around, when you were playing France's, Italy's, Spain's, whoever, you would turn up and you'd put in brilliant performances, even if you came up short, and then you'd maybe slip up against one of the smaller countries that you should beat. And that was a game that was just the perfect start to get off to. I think, everybody coming off the back of the Nations League campaign and obviously getting themselves promoted to the next level in that, and knowing you've got a backup maybe takes some pressure off, but I think everybody would say, you want to qualify automatic if you can, without a playoff. And the Cyprus game at home, I think, was as kind of expected. Just get the job done, make sure you get 3 points in the bag. Whatever happens, do not fail to win it, basically. And they met that brief.
Listen, we'll save the two, I think, massive results for a moment. Obviously, the Georgia game was a strange one. Obviously, the delay and the rain, etc. Probably, it was better for us in terms of just getting it done. Hey, he's here.
Hello, how are we?
No, we're good. Yeah. We're just obviously talking about the games that have proceeded tomorrow night. I'll ask you then, Martin. The two big results. Obviously, Spain is a standout. But I kind of get the vibe or the feeling that Norway 3 points will be even more important.
I think the Norway game was much more important, simply because it was away from home. To be brutally honest, before I had my microphone issues, I had my stats and everything, and I was going to go through it all in some nice detail, but I've lost everything because I had a bit of flaky behind the scenes.
You sound great now. You sound great, honestly.
Well, thank that. You're the first person to ever tell me that in my life. Look, the Norway was massive because I was expecting Scotland to lose. And I thought if we can manage to get a draw over there, that's massive. You've got the likes of Haaland and is it Odegaard? So you've got two world class players in their team straight away. And to go over there and we rode the storm, Norway controlled the majority of that game. And maybe on another day they might have, but they didn't. And when we managed to get the 3 points, which was absolutely massive, because the Spain game, you actually felt during that game, and I know that the Spain manager made a lot of changes coming to Hampden, but you felt during that game as if they were taking it lightly. And that, we could do something here. There could be a win on the cards here. But, I mean, regardless of your feelings towards Steve Clarke, or some of the players who might be on the pitch. You can't sit here and not say to be 4 wins out of 4, to be top of the group, and for there to be a possibility of Scotland qualifying tomorrow or Saturday or whenever the rest of the teams play, if results go Scotland's way, it's a fantastic achievement so far.
Do you think as well, Connor, there's like what Martin says there about, you know, we might have not won in Norway, and you know things could have gone differently in that game. That's a wee sign like about this team. You know that usually would have probably come away with that game with a point at best or lost it, but we've actually got to the end and got the 3 and really set ourselves up for a massive shot at Germany next year.
Oh, definitely. And I think the thing is as well, the way that we won that game, that's the kind of thing that as a team, I think as a group of players, that will always give you that bounce coming out the next one, always give you that belief and a lack of fear, because we were 5 minutes left or something in that game, and I think most people watching it kind of went, nah, it's not going to be all right. It hadn't been, you know, we weathered a storm, but in terms of attacking, we hadn't offered as much as we might have liked to. And then obviously, you know, we pop up with the 2 goals. The first one, there's a bit of luck in, but it's still a great finish. But when the second one happened, I just knew, the minute John McGinn picked the ball up and pinged that over the top, I went, this is a goal. Because you had the 2-on-1 there, as long as he done what he done, passed it back in, it was always going to be a goal. And that just gives you the right belief. I mean, I think regardless of whether it's this week or no, I think we will qualify anyway. I think if we beat Cyprus tomorrow, 15 points realistically should be enough, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we'd basically need to lose the final 4 games or whatever it is to fail to qualify. And I know it's Scotland. I know these things have happened in the past, but I just don't see it. I think
you said before as well about Peter Martin's commentary for that James McFadden goal. I thought Rory Hamilton's commentary for the Kenny McLean was great as well.
By the way, can we just say, and I know, I'm not here to kiss anybody's arse, and I know that I think it was Rory Hamilton anyway that done Celtic TV, I think. But he's some commentator. He brings the game to life, Rory, because he was brilliant for us in the Europa League run. He makes such a difference when you've got somebody like Rob McLean, you know, who would genuinely put you to sleep during any sort of commentary. Rory Hamilton is he's a really, really, really good commentator.
And you consider the drop he's got surrounding him at all, with fucking Cragen and Stewart and the like. I mean, it's not an easy gig having they two sat beside you in a commentary box. So,
but it's not too bad when he's got Coisty next to him. That's a fantastic.
That's a good combination.
That's good. Look, in terms of Scotland, Robert, and I know you have maybe discussed this before I came on, but if you take it as far back as the first game against Georgia with that waterlogged pitch, and the length of time it took, the pitch wasn't really that playable. Once the game got underway, Georgia were there to, frustrate and try and keep us out, and we played really, really well. I just think this Scotland team has something about it. I don't think we are going to be an easy game for anybody.
Well, you have to look at what's coming out of the camp, Martin, and they're saying there's a club mentality there, which is great. See, when you hear stuff like that, I love that. Really does help, I think, and makes things a wee bit different to what's been there previous. I do think as well, when we were sort of, for what of a better word, didn't turn up or pump, whatever you want to call it, at Euro 20, was it 2020 or 2021, whatever you want to coin that one as well. I think Steve Clarke kind of said these players are on a journey. They will take good from this and they'll get better from it. Unfortunately, we didn't make Qatar, but I think we are going to be in Germany. I don't think we're going to need the fallback of this Nation League's playoff. I think we will do the business and get ourselves there through winning this group. So you look at as well, a telling sign for me is previous squads with Steve Clarke. We've argued about players being involved. Ryan Gold, should he be called in, etc. Nowadays, nobody's questioning who he's picking because the players are turning up. They're getting performances out of them. I mean, we might come on to him later, but Scott McTominay can't play for Man United, and yet he scored 5 goals in qualifying for Scotland. He's massive. You couldn't leave him out now. So there's got to be something in it in terms of the group mentality. I mean, just a wee side note, me and Keir spent 45 minutes talking about mentality for Rangers yesterday. The Scotland mentality is there. It's unquestionable. These guys are driving towards an end goal. And I think it's, he's got a tune out. He's playing players and getting a tune out of them. Lyndon Dykes, who when he get called up, people are thinking, why are we calling up Lyndon Dykes? He's brilliant for Scotland. He's a great option. And John McGinn obviously does his own thing, and he's, he is Mr. Scotland at the moment. So that
he's the best. John McGinn's the best $4 million they never spent.
I do not shave my legs in the bath. I'll have you know.
Oh, you 100% do shave your legs in the bath.
Right.
No, don't. Oh, here we go.
I'm no shaved.
I should give him a bath in a couple of weeks.
No, I had a bath the other night. David, you are coming for me hard, biggin. I'm going to have to have a private chat sometime.
See, to be fair, you do 100% look like somebody who shaves their bath in the legs.
Shave their bath in the legs?
Shave their legs in the bath. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll shift focus to this Cyprus game tomorrow. I'll just run you through the squad that Steve Clarke has selected. So Xander Clark, Angus Gunn and Liam Kelly are the 3 goalkeepers, but Liam Kelly's been replaced, I believe, with Robbie McCrory through injury. And then the defenders, we've got Jack Hendry, Aaron Hickey, Scott McKenna, Nathan Patterson, Ryan Porteous, Andy Robertson, John Suter, and Kieran Tierney. The midfielders, Elliot Anderson, who I believe has took himself out. He's not in the squad anymore, and we'll come on to that in a wee second. Stuart Armstrong, Billy Gilmore, Lewis Ferguson, Ryan Jack, John McGinn, Callum McGregor, Kenny McLean, and of course the aforementioned Scott McTominay. And up front, he has selected Shea Adams, Ryan Christie, Lyndon Dykes, Kevin Nisbet, and Lawrence Shankland. There's a few names that I want to discuss, Connor, in a bit more detail, but just from that squad, just the squad in general, I mean, that's a pretty good squad.
I think that's a very good squad.
There's one or two that I don't think should be anywhere near it, but 99% that's a good squad.
Definitely. It's a strong squad. I think it's it's one of the strongest Scotland squads I think we've seen. In terms of in recent times when we've had the similar squads coming out, we've got a good bit of depth, which is important. And not just cannon fodder type depth where you're losing Andy Robertson and bringing on Akechi Anya or something like that. Proper quality depth that you can replace with, which is you need that. So I would have no qualms. Obviously, maybe 1 or 2 names stand out. I was having a chat with Robert off air about Dominic Hyam, who obviously has come in for Anderson because he's, if he does get playtime, it'll be interesting to see how, what kind of player he is, because I don't follow Blackburn Rovers, so I've never actually seen the boy. But no, I'm reasonably happy with it. I think the one area that I wouldn't say concerns me because it's not been a problem, but that you do look at in a wee bit more is I think the goalkeepers, they don't, it's not as strong as the goalkeepers we used to have, really, is it? When you think of Craig Gordon, Alan McGregor, David Marshall,
Jim Leighton.
Back in the day, Andy Gorham, the goalie, obviously.
Andy Gorham couldn't get in for Jim Leighton, but so don't even get me started with Jim Leighton.
That's
Tom Boyd and Davy Robertson, don't get me started.
Connor, do you not think, though, that these goalkeepers have actually got a better defence in front of them that maybe goalkeepers have not had for the last couple of campaigns?
Yeah, I think they do. Of course they do. Because whatever connotation, back four, I prefer a back four, personally, for Scotland, because back threes, maybe it's because usually Scott McTominay's had to play in the back threes, I don't like it, but, you can't. There's no a weak version of that back four, I don't think. I think there's maybe like a Grant Hanley who you can question a bit, But it is a stronger back four than maybe they had.
I think, sorry, Connor, I think you can maybe question Scott McKenna. I know he's playing at Nottingham Forest. I know he's playing in the Premier League. But Scott McKenna doesn't fill me with confidence. Jack Hendry. I mean, we can't have it all. I think if you look at our midfield, I think we've got a fantastic midfield. And I even think if you look up front, you know, I know that Kevin Nisbet isn't really firing for Millwall this season, but you've got Lawrence Shankland, who's banging in the goals for fun. Shea Adams, who on his day is a very good striker. So I think the defence is probably the weakest part of our team. Is that fair? Or is it for you up front? Because you gave me that, I'm going to come and strangle you in your sleep look.
No, I think in terms of overall, I suppose, quality or depth of quality, then yeah, probably, because you might, you know, as you say.
Are you happy with Scott McKenna?
I'm no unhappy with him. I wouldn't say he would be my first choice, but I think, you know, I would think, who would you bring in if you didn't, you know, call Scott McKenna up? Then who's the next choice after that? And would they do a better job? Because he does have experience, at least Scott McKenna. And to be fair to him, there's not been many games I've seen of Scotland where I've thought he's had an absolute howler when he has played. So I do think that.
Well, right, okay, and I'm not jumping on, you know, Scott McKenna here, Robert.
Sounds
really
like it. Sounds like it.
I'm not. I'm really not. But you've got the choice then. You've got, unless he plays a 3-5-2, which he might very well do.
Okay.
But he will play a 3, won't he? That's the way he plays, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah,
so
300%. If he plays the 3, then Robert, is it Jack Hendry, Scott McKenna, and Porteous?
Yes, for me, yes. And I just want to come back to what you're talking about with the particularly Scott McKenna. Now, I had the same concerns initially when he was brought up into squad and didn't see what other people were seeing, but I do actually think he is improving. Again, Ryan Porteous as well, what I've seen of him, I do think he's improving. So there's a lot to be said for that step up in quality. I think we actually saw Ryan Porteous improve when he got called up into the Scotland team. I thought he gave his better performances for the national team rather than for Hibernian. So I think there's
that of course, though, Robert, right? And I'm sorry to jump in again, but I'll forget if I don't. That means that John Souttar misses out.
But yeah, but John Souttar has. Well, I think it's probably a toss of the coin between Hendry and Souttar. It's a toss of the coin because I don't know what Hendry's doing in Saudi. I really don't. It's not a league that I follow.
CGM makes that point as well. Tierney always plays in the back 3.
Yeah, but you could also, so it's like Connor said, McTominay does as well. So, you know, whenever we ever had this problem with Scotland, we've got that many options. You're not, whatever happens here, if McTominay is going to play at the back, then he's in the team sheet because he's not getting left out. McTominay. I just think, I definitely think McKenna and Porteous will play. It's whether he does play Kieran Tierney, who by all accounts was really, really good in Sociedad's win at the weekend. The manager was raving about him after the game. So he looks sort of rejuvenated and back playing football. So maybe there is a place for Kieran Tierney in that back 3 because he does like to sort of shoehorn them both in, doesn't he, Tierney and Robertson?
I'm probably going to get crucified for this. And the one thing I'll always be on the rabble is honest, sometimes to a massive, massive fault, right? Connor, if you gave me the option of a fully fit Andy Robertson or a fully fit, which I know is funny, Kieran Tierney to start at left back, I am 10 times out of 10 picking Kieran Tierney.
Right, that caught me by surprise. But listen, I personally would have to disagree. I think Robertson's a far better player, or maybe no far better. That's maybe stretching it a bit. I just think. Well, I mean, firstly, Robertson's the captain, obviously. So you'll never.
I know he's always going to play. It's just for me in that left back spot, I think Tierney's better at getting up and down. I know Robertson's fantastic and he's a really good left back. I just think Tierney's got a bit more about him at left wing back than Andy Robertson playing in the Scotland team.
Just I think it would depend on the type of game though, because well, I mean, most of the time you can get both of them in and on the park anyway. But I think if you were given a choice either or, if it's a big game and you're needing proper experience in there of those kind of occasions, then Andy Robertson's got that in spades. He's won Champions Leagues, he's won Premier League titles. Kieran Tierney, with all due respect to him, has not done that. He's won plenty up here, but that to me,
but at that time he was winning stuff that didn't count because we weren't here.
Well, it was certainly easier for him, shall we say? Not that he wasn't great, because he was. But
can I just also say, sorry, I'm going to get this a lot, and I know, but I'm always going to be honest with you, with you folks. I'm always going to be honest. I think Tierney's a better left back than Andy Robertson. That's just my opinion.
No, listen, that's what it's about. It's all about opinions, isn't it? At the end of the day, it'd be boring if we all just agreed all the time. So, it's certainly an interesting one, because I don't think anybody would necessarily raise an eyebrow if say Robertson's maybe no at 100% and they go, right, we'll drop him and we'll put Tierney in. I don't think there would be a problem, because I think Tierney is a quality player. I just personally think Robertson's just that bit, because I think he's got a bit more grit about him, because he's actually, he's came through, as lower level as you can get at Queen's Park at a time where you weren't even getting paid to play for Queen's Park, into Dundee United, and then he's skyrocketed. He's a real success story for Scottish football, as is Tierney, but to a lesser degree in my opinion. So I just think Robertson's a wee bit more about him, but I've nothing against Tierney.
The only reason, Robert, that I brought that up was what I'm not a fan of, and I know that it probably works for Scotland, I get that, but what I'm not a fan of is if you've got two really good players in the one position, you shoehorn both of them into the team. I can remember for a while Scotland were trying to play Tierney at right back, left wing in front of Andy, or they switched them about. It's you play the player in that position and the other one doesn't play for me. I hate play, and we see it with Rangers. And look, we could go back to talking about Rangers right now, and we could be here until next Friday. I just think you play players in the position that they're supposed to be played.
Listen, and that is true, but on the same sort of flip side, that the reason, the thing is, you're trying to get all your best players on the park. See, now we actually got a depth of quality. I mean, you look at some of the teams where these guys are playing. Aston Villa, who are in Europe, Brighton, who are in Europe. You've got guys at Man United, Liverpool, Everton, Real Sociedad, as I mentioned before. Lewis Ferguson's playing in Serie A. We've got a real depth now that we've never had for ages. So I just think I agree with you now that the time is not to start putting guys in places that there maybe no many play. You play your best player in that position, as you say, and it's not like we need to have Tierney and Robertson on the pitch. I think we've got more than enough. When you look at the full-back positions as well, Aaron Hickey, great player. Nathan Patterson, we know how good he is as well. So I think it's a great squad, a really healthy squad. I mean, you said at the start, I wanted to probe you on that. You said there's some names in there you didn't like. I mean, which ones?
I'm not a massive fan of Ryan Christie. And people will jump on it, and the people will say, it's because he used to play for Celtic. No, it's nothing to do with that. I just don't think... Robert, what, you having a disco in the background there?
I'm using the light for my teeth to keep the house going.
I don't know what's happening. I don't think, and maybe people can point to, certain things that Ryan Christie's done well for Scotland. I don't know. I don't rate Ryan Christie.
Well, listen, Ryan Christie, it comes back to what we're saying about Michael Beale. I ain't going to put a light on him in a minute. Is managers have their favourites, and I think Steve Clarke certainly has those. I mean, Connor touched about the boy being called up from Blackburn Rovers. I don't think we'll see him, to be honest. There's too much in front of him. He's probably just been brought in for a spare body, certainly. However, as you mentioned before, I think we've got Ryan Christie's in there because he's one of Steve Clarke's favourites. He's been in and around it, knows what he's going to get from him, and we've been successful, Martin. So whether you like him or not, I don't think he's a bad choice, to be honest. I think when he's in a Scotland jersey, he does enough.
Well, see, I would...
On that comment, Connor, for Chris, not a fan of the lad Christie. On his day, he's a baller, but he's too inconsistent. Is he a baller on his day? I mean, every single time I've seen him, I've been completely underwhelmed.
See, I think the thing with me, I agree actually on the Ryan Christie point. I get frustrated by him because I feel as if he's a player who, he promises to do so much. I can understand why people think he is a baller because he looks like he might be a baller. And when he gets the ball, sometimes you think maybe he's going to do
What is it
something.
he does, Connor? What is it? What's he good at?
Well, I think he's good at sort of running with the ball, I suppose, and he can take on a player. My criticism comes from his lack of a final product half the time. I know he did score an important goal in Serbia. That obviously, helped.
That was a miss hit. And look, I'm not having anything against it, but he mishit the ball. It was
He
lucky.
did, but I think when you look at it, and I've just pulled up his stats here, the guy's had 39 appearances for Scotland. He scored 5 goals as an attacking midfielder. I would expect just a wee bit more out of him. I don't know the assist stats and stuff like that, but I don't feel like he gets many because usually our main creative sparks do tend to be John McGinn or even, I would argue, Scott McTominay's probably a bit more creative in his playing. So I do think that's my area where I personally, I'm not sure he's somebody I would have as a starter. I'd have him in the squad for squad depth and the fact that I don't know that we've got somebody out there just now who's maybe ready to come in and fill that position. But it wouldn't be somebody I'd be starting in my games personally because I don't know. I'm with Martin. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is. Maybe it is that end product, but for me that it's not quite there.
Can I bring up something wild, Robert? Right. I can lip read a wee bit, and I know I can see that you said please do there.
You did 10 points. Well done.
You ever played you've played like Football Manager, right?
Aye.
If you sign somebody at a young age and they're in your league or they play in your country for a certain amount of time, then they become eligible to play for that country if they haven't already played for their country.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we've had a player at our football club for a long, long time who, to the best of my knowledge, has never played for his country.
England.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's from Newcastle. Should Steve Clark have went? And I'm scared to say the name because I know that I'm going to get abused the second I say the name, right? Should Steve Clark at any point have ever went to James Tavernier and asked if he would fancy playing for Scotland?
Well, if we're going to get a geography right, I think he's from Yorkshire. I think he's from Leeds, to be honest.
I'm sure he's from Newcastle.
Well, we'll choose inquiry, Connor. Check that while I'm talking. Okay, I think what I've heard, whether this is true or not, that the home nations, particularly England and Scotland, it's not something they want to do in terms of people that have been playing in your country then qualify. I think it was done when there was an instance a few years ago with Nacho Novo. He was saying he was going to get called up for Scotland, and they said, "Look, no, but there's an agreement with the home nations; they're not going to use that rule." So that's maybe why he's not been looked at. Listen, Tavernier, I think he'd probably jump at the chance. But is he better than is Tavernier better than a young Aaron Hickey who's playing at that level?
Look, probably not.
Is he better than Nathan Patterson? Tavernier. I know what he gives you going forward, but yeah. I would say I don't know. I kind of think no. I wouldn't think he would. I don't think he'd be a first pick. Certainly, I think he'd actually have to fight for his jersey at national level rather than what he's getting handed out at Ibrox.
I know. Listen, it was just a thought, Connor. It was just a wee thought because I think, and I don't want to make this about Rangers tonight because we've done plenty on Rangers, and I'm still raging, and I've told everybody on social media that we're taking a week off. Which after and I keep saying we're going to take a week off, right? But we've got the women's show tomorrow night at 7:30, and then we've got an exclusive interview that Wilf Marshall has done that will be out on Saturday morning. And then we'll be taking a break. But if Tav is, I think he could be pushed forward, right? I don't think he has to play right back for Rangers going forward. I think he could easily be pushed forward. And I think he could be used in that kind of role for Scotland as well. And I think he would bring something to Scotland that although Scott McTominay's scored 5 goals in this group, I think John McGinn's got 1, Lyndon Dykes has got 1, Shea Adams has got 1. I think he would bring goals from that right side of midfield.
Well, yeah, with the creativity he's got, certainly would. And first and foremost, in the sales inquiry, he is from Bradford.
Which is Yorkshire.
However, to be fair, I can understand the confusion because he did
played for Newcastle.
That's where his career started, basically, was at Newcastle. Or his senior career. He started his youth career at Leeds, apparently. But anyway.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you. I didn't realise, Wolf, that you wanted me to tell everybody the interview is with Alistair Aird about his new book, which will be out in Saturday. Sorry, Colin.
Is that Fraser's Dad?
No. Although a lot of people seem to think that I'm Connor's dad. According to the comments, apparently Connor looks at me with a haircut and a shave. So,
I mean, I think you might need to be better looking to be my dad, Martin, to be perfectly honest with you.
Just on that, I think Connor looks like, you know, that the bad guy, sort of boss, Cockney guy in Football Factory. Do you know
the head, Connor looks like an absolute and complete psychopath.
I looks like what was that guy? There was that. I'll come to me. There's that famous murderer from Glasgow. He looks a bit like him.
No, he's a psycho. He's a murderer. He's in a he's the head of football hooligans.
William Begg. Is it William Begg?
William Begg. I don't.
I mean,
you want to see what's in my closet, to be fair.
We really don't, and that'll get clipped up. So carry on. Right, back on with the point.
Thank you. Aye, where were we? Tavernier.
David, too far.
I think, you know, well, maybe don't bring that comment on the screen. No, look, he obviously, I think he could provide goals because he does, you know, for Rangers, and certainly he's one of the, I would argue if he went into the Scotland team, he'd possibly be one of, if not the best crosser of a ball when he gets it right, when he's got that accuracy about him. That being said, I think it's maybe a bit too late for that sort of stuff. I mean, he's 31, you know, you couldn't really, I think there's too many proper Scotsmen in there. But listen, I wouldn't have a problem with it because, to be fair, other countries don't seem to have a problem nicking players.
Hold on a minute.
nations.
I'm wrapping this. Listen, we've got a great squad on the verge of qualification. We're sat here talking about James Tavernier.
I can't help it. I'm just that used to talking about Rangers. Right, okay. Let's move on then. In terms of our opponents tomorrow, Robert, Cyprus. Played 3, lost 3. We're going away, which is always a bit more tricky. But I don't expect a great deal from them.
No, listen, I think the hardest thing Scotland are going to have to contest is the heat there. I think it's been played late at night, something like a 9:45 kickoff local time. We just need to go there and carry on the same vein, impose ourselves and make ourselves very structured and very, very hard to beat. I can't see Cyprus having many chances. You're hoping that somebody like a Shea Adams, who I think would be maybe more suited to this game than a Lyndon Dykes, can get a couple of chances. John McGinn's always somebody you can bank on. And then you look at McTominay, as we mentioned before, 5 goals already in the campaign, probably looking to add more. He'll be trying to show his club manager that he's worth a game. So I don't see anything but an away win tomorrow. And then hopefully results go for us. And after the England game, where we're already celebrating a win, we'll also be celebrating qualification to Germany as well. I think tomorrow night's a formality, really, which is probably something you shouldn't really say as a Scotland fan. But I'm going to sit here and confidently say that Scotland will do their business tomorrow night and we'll all have a nice weekend. Well, those who indulge in international football, I know some don't. So, yeah.
I'm just trying, if I can, to... So there we go. If everybody can see that, that is the current group table. I'm trying something a bit fancier, Connor, and take our ugly faces off the screen for a wee second. So Robert says he doesn't fancy much from Cyprus tomorrow. A win obviously then takes us on to 15 points. That's pretty much qualification, Connor, is it not?
I would think so. I think it'd have to be one almighty collapse to not qualify for that point. And I think you've got to recognise the fact that obviously the top two will automatically qualify anyway. And I think, obviously Norway have still got to play Spain again, which means one or both would have to drop points. And they're obviously the two that are going to be the chasing pack, as it were. But no, I think win tomorrow and that should be that done. I mean, ideally, if the results go our way over the course of the next few days, then it will officially be done. But it will be, because you still will then play, Georgia are away from home, but I'd still fancy us to win that. And then you've got Norway at home. Again, having beaten them away from home, I think we will be all right at home against Norway. And then you can kind of write off the Spain game in Madrid. That won't matter, hopefully.
That won't matter, Robert, right? But see in terms of tomorrow, away to the weakest team in the group, right? I know that you're really confident about it, but I think if you do look at the games that are coming up, away to Spain, right? I know that's the last game, right? But you've got away to Spain, you've got home to Norway, who'll be out for revenge, and you've got away to Georgia. Now, historically, we have not done well away to Georgia, right? I think tomorrow, and this sounds really stupid considering how far ahead we are, right? I think tomorrow is must win, because the rest of the games that are coming up we could easily be beaten in those games. Away to Spain, home to Norway. Norway are obviously no mugs, and away to Georgia is always a tricky place to go.
No, listen, I get what you're saying in terms of momentum, and a defeat tomorrow night it'll deflate the nation, I think, get into the England game, and albeit, then onto the rest of the campaign. So I think momentum is key. You've got to keep winning. I'm sure within the walls of the Scotland camp, they'll be saying, let's win every game we can. Let's go and get 5 out of 5. Let's take the next game. Let's go and get 6 out of 6. So I think they'll just kind of build like that. And realistically, I mean, the games you've just mentioned there, listen, I've only been drinking pop tonight, so before anybody starts.
It's called juice, Robert. Robert, it's called juice. It's not pop.
Juice or ginger will be fine.
I lived in England for 2 years, and I can never get over them calling it pop.
Can we edit that? I've been drinking.
Yeah, we'll edit that out, because
I've been drinking ginger. So the point being, I think the only game you've mentioned there that we'll lose possibly is away in Spain. I think we'll win every other game.
And listen, I hope you're right for Scotland's sake.
Martin, do you know what it is? I just really think there's something there with this squad. I think they're together.
Right.
There's great options. And there's a depth there as well. I mean, you're going to talk about this Elliot Anderson in a minute, right? And I can't wait for you to as well, by the way. We'll come on to him. But I just think guys like Billy Gilmour, as I said, Lewis Ferguson playing in Serie A. You've got Stuart Armstrong as well, by the way, he's a quality act, Stuart Armstrong. He goes under the radar a lot, but I think he's a great footballer. Connor's looking at me saying, no, he's not. He's absolutely not. But I think he's a really good footballer.
Right. Well, listen, we'll do it quickly. Because we don't have a lot of time left, and I did want to kind of touch on the England game on Tuesday, but I don't know if we'll have time for that. Lewis Ferguson,
on Monday night.
Lewis Ferguson, Connor, somebody who, and I'll put my hand up, I was one of those people. I didn't want him at Rangers when we were constantly linked to him every 5 minutes. He's went to Italy. He's doing phenomenal. He's playing really, really, really well. He's got to surely be in line for a start, although he doesn't. I don't think Steve Clarke's actually started him yet, but surely he must be playing himself pretty close to that starting 11.
Oh yeah, definitely. He'll be knocking on the door with Steve Clarke, no doubt about it. I think the one thing about Clarke, he will give players an opportunity if he thinks they've earned it. Albeit he does have his fairly settled midfield that he likes to go.
He has his settled favourites, Connor.
Yeah, he does. But I think if Lewis Ferguson continues to impress, he will. Do I think he'll get a start tomorrow or indeed on Tuesday? Probably no. But I think if he can keep on playing the way he's obviously been doing domestically and turning up in a Scotland jersey off the bench, then I don't see a reason why he won't get a start eventually, because I do think he's a great footballer, and I think sadly he's somebody that we missed out on big time. Really, I think that was a blow with the connections he's got. But hey, that aside, if I was Steve Clarke, I don't see how you couldn't seriously consider starting him. I really don't.
Can I say something that might? Sorry, Mark. Can I just say something about Lewis Figgs that I think might not go down well in the comments? Is that I kind of feel like, you are saying there we missed out on a player, etc. I don't think with guys like him and Aaron Hickey, obviously as well, you'd have seen the same development if they'd gone to a Rangers or a Celtic. And I really do think it's great for these guys to go to the continent, experience a different culture, experience a different way of playing, maybe pick up a language or whatever. And they're seeing different professionals and how they live and how they go about their business. And I think that's massive for them. I really do think that you listen to his dad, Derek, and other podcasts, just saying how. Well, okie dokie.
The problem with listening to family members is they're always going to be biased.
No, but in terms of it, he's giving you a wee bit of insight about how they're getting on, in training and other players they're playing with and who they're, speaking to and what they're doing off the park. And I just kind of think that Lewis Ferguson done the right thing. He looks a better player for it, and that boat is sailed for us. He will go to the English Premier League or a Juventus, or someone will take him. And if not,
that's what I'm going to answer right now. How do you know he's playing really, really, really well? Do you watch him every week? No, but I read reports from other leagues around the world just in case Arabo ever wants to have a wee go at doing some different shows. And his name always pops up as playing really well, and he's always linked with the big clubs in Italy. So these Italian journals are ruthless. If you're not playing well, they will tell you that you're not playing well. They're ruthless. So when you hear from journalists in Italy saying how well he's playing and the fact that he's linked to the likes of Juventus, etc., then you know that he's playing really, really well.
Martin as well on that. Like, the Italian teams now have got a success rate of pulling young players from Scotland. They're coming back and taking more and more. I was really surprised that the boy Max Johnson went to Austria. I know there was a couple of Italian teams sniffing around him as well. So I think it's great for us, absolutely great for us, and I welcome it. If we're going to pass up on them through what fault I do not know, then albeit they go to these bigger clubs and experience better things.
Every single thing I read, I believe. Yep.
If you look at his actual stats, he started 28 out of the 38 games that he's made an appearance for Bologna. So clearly he's doing something right, because you don't start 28 games in a league like Serie A and attract the kind of attention he has. And as Martin says, no get all that much criticism for the fairly ruthless Italian press if you're not doing well. That's how he's come into Steve Clarke's thinking in the Scotland squad, because I'm sure he will have watched them, whether he went over there or whether it's been tapes. So you've got to look at that and know that he's doing well.
You're not old enough for tapes. What are you talking about? Tapes?
VHSs and all that. What are you on about?
I had a VHS player when I was away.
Can I just really, Nicholas, stubborn. I was being a wee bit facetious and sarcastic there when I said I believe every single thing that I read. Brand new channel member, fantastic, Mr. Fox. Thank you very much for the support. Lewis Ferguson, Robert, though. We're talking about, may he start? If he is going to start, then it would be over Callum McGregor, John McGinn, or Scott McTominay. I don't see him breaking into that.
No, I think if you're going to pick anyone to break that three, it's Billy Gilmour at the minute. I think Billy Gilmour, he's had a great start to the season. I watched him against Newcastle. He was fantastic. So brave, always wants the ball, always head up, always looking to make a pass. I think Billy Gilmour is the one, him or Ferguson, that will break into that three. Whether he starts tomorrow night or against England, I think he'll start one of the games for sure.
It'll be the England game. That'll be the England game that he'll probably start. And just finally, see underneath tweets, you can just hit translate and it puts it in English. But yeah, there we go.
Stubborn by name, stubborn by nature, Nicholas.
I don't mind about a back and forth. Because 9 times out of 10 I'm wrong. So
I don't mind it as long as it's with a wife. Oi.
Is there Elliot Anderson, Robert? You were desperate to talk about it, so let's talk about it. The rumour going about is that he's pulled out of the Scotland squad because there may be some interest from Gareth Southgate.
I read about it before we came on, and Steve Clarke spoke about it as well. He was probed in his press conference and asked what had gone on. He said it was something that he couldn't control. He was then asked, had he had reassurances from Anderson that he'd be back, and he just put no. He just left. So he's definitely, for me, had a phone call from whether it's somebody at Newcastle United or his agent to say, get the hell out of there. Gareth's going to call you up, whether it's next time you're on his radar kind of thing, get the hell out of there. I think it's safe to say he's burnt his bridges with Steve Clarke. I don't think he'll be in another Scotland squad under Steve Clarke, and I think Steve Clarke's going to be the Scotland manager until Steve Clarke says he's not going to be the Scotland manager because he's done that well. So it's a shame because he's looked okay, the boy Anderson. I've seen bits and pieces of him in that Newcastle documentary that's on streaming at the moment, and obviously he's a decent wee start. You're on mute, Martin. Sorry,
I'm on mute and I'm shouting. If that's the way you're going to be, then if that was a Rangers player, for example, who was making a lot of noise because another team wanted him, and he was making life difficult for the manager, then my immediate reaction would be, he doesn't want to be, here he goes. If Elliot Anderson isn't 100% committed to playing for Scotland, then he doesn't play.
But do you think there must have been conversations before he went? Somebody must have sat him down. Gareth Southgate's not just picked up the phone this morning and went, I might fancy that boy, going to get him out of there. There must have been conversations. Players get watched and know what's going on. So I think it's a strange one. Do I think we'll miss him? Probably not.
Would that have actually had? Because I'm just thinking there, how much, even if he had played for Scotland, he could still have taken that call. Because look at Declan Rice, for example. He made a number of appearances for Ireland.
Declan Rice was under 21s. He never played for the.
Okay, well, Evan Ferguson, then he has played for the first team in Ireland, and there is conversations around he could switch his allegiance to England because apparently I think it's like 3 appearances or something you need to make for the senior squad.
You need to get special dispensation, and you don't always get it.
How is that even allowed?
It shouldn't be. I totally agree with you. It's a nonsense. And as far as I'm concerned, if you've been capped at any level for a national team, then that is a national team you should then have to play for. Because it does look ridiculous when you look, you look a player up and you go, how has he played for? So he's played for fucking Scotland under whatever's all the way through to 21, and then he's done one and went to England. I mean, he was born in England, I think, so fine. But to me, if you
I've always been of the opinion, right? It's not where you're born; it's where you. And this is just my own opinion. It's where you're raised. It's where you grow up, right? That's where you're from, right? So I was born in Scotland. I was raised in Scotland. Therefore, I'm Scottish. My dad was born in England, but he was raised in Scotland. Therefore, my dad classes himself as Scottish. What are you shaking your head at, Robert?
I was going to say.
Somebody asking me if I'm a furry. What's a furry?
He's definitely a furry, David. He's definitely a furry. And I personally, I know that there's players out there who, like, for example, if you're brought up in England, right, so much harder to get into an England team than what it would be to get into the Scotland team, right? I get that. I don't think if your dad's Scottish or your mum and dad are Scottish, but you were raised in England, I think the only team you should be able to play for is England. I don't think there should be any other rules that allow you to go to play for other national teams, but that's just my own personal preference. I understand why players do it. And I harp back. I go all the way back to the 90s where we had Matt Elliott and I can't even remember some of the other names.
John Hutchison.
Aye, but you see it though, don't you? I mean, I think it's. I remember.
And listen, can I just respond to that quickly? Sorry, Dougal. No, I completely understand that. Gordon Ramsay's the same. I think he was born in Scotland, but he was raised in England. And you're Scottish for free. I'm just talking about being able to play for your international team. That's all. That's just my own personal opinion.
Mark, I think
it's ridiculous, this, because I remember in I think it was the 2010 World Cup, and Ghana lined up against Germany, and you had brothers playing against each other on opposite sides. The Boateng brothers.
yeah.
Kevin Prince played for Ghana, and it was George Boateng, I think.
Kevin
played for Germany. To me, watching that looks ridiculous. How can you be brothers and play for different countries against one another at a World Cup? That I don't like that, because you do end up with that sort of crap, personally.
And listen, I know that Stu's going to be down my throat because Stu was born in Plymouth, raised in Plymouth, but classes himself as Scottish. And I've not explained myself properly. But
no, Martin. I think the lineage should go to your parents, but no your grandparents. I think it should go to your mum and dad. That's fair enough. But see, when you start looking for, was his granny, ever at Sol Coats for her holidays and all that carry on, it gets too much. So, and sorry, just to correct, it was Kevin Prince Boateng and Jerome. Jerome was the one that played for Germany, forgive me. So I just think if it's your mum and dad, fair dues, but MD else, raffle your donut.
If Kylian Mbappe's granny's ever been to Sol Coats and he wants a game for Scotland,
you want to get in ahead of Shea Adams? What you talking about?
I didn't explain that properly, so I apologise if I offended anybody. Right, okay, predictions for tomorrow, Robert.
Comfortable 3-0 victory, and I fancy Shea Adams for a brace, and who's going to get the other one for me? Lewis Ferguson off the bench. There you go.
Okay, Connor.
I'll go for 4-0 to Scotland, just to be different for Robert. I'll go for Lyndon Dykes for the brace instead of Adams. Adams will get a goal and McGinn to score as well.
2-1 Scotland with a late John McGinn penalty.
Oh, I hope you rang. I don't want to be sitting making buttons all night. Can we just agree? I want to get Martin on camera for this. See if Scotland do qualify before the next Rangers game. Can we come back on and celebrate it, please?
Yes, you can.
Yes, brilliant.
100% you can.
There we go.
And look, I know that there's not a lot of people in the comments usually, because we would normally we have roughly about 350 people watching, so that's like half we've got watching tonight. I get that Scotland's not for everybody, but for the Rangers fans that do, and even if it's some Rangers fans not watching, this is a show about Scotland, so everybody's obviously welcome to watch any show, but I get that not a lot of people out there of a Rangers persuasion are that into Scotland anymore, but for those of you who are, then I hope you enjoyed this anyway.
Well, Martin won't be on the next one because he's got to have a gang of folk outside his house with pitchforks in a minute.
I didn't explain that right. I didn't explain it. So I apologise if I offended anybody. And by the way, if we can keep Todd Cantwell long enough, Scotland should definitely try and call him up. But anyway, there we go. So, Robert, Connor, thank you very much. I was only expecting this to go for half an hour. So my missus is raging because I told her that yesterday that was me off for a week. But however, thank you to everybody who tuned in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do like it, please get in the comments after the video and let us know what you thought, and we'll maybe do some more international stuff as well. And we will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 for the Women's Show Live. And then there's a recorded interview going out on Saturday morning, like I said, at Wolf done with Alistair about his new book. And then we will be back live a week tomorrow for the phone in, which Robert will be producing for the first time. So we'll see how that goes on. So thank you everybody for watching, and yeah, we'll speak to you all very, very soon.